Good evening, everybody. This is Gengler, loading up our session for the evening to do a cribbage tutorial. Hoping that's a fun session for everybody. I'm going to show you the basics, walk through strategy, and play a little mini round with my sister, Gengler. Hi, Merle. Maiden name, sorry.
Close.
So here we are. I'm going to show you first a couple of the boards. So these, a couple of these boards are brand new. So we've got this one. It's the Eric McCabe disc golf board, made by a laser etching company here in Minnesota. We've got the old time board that was a family board for the last 22 years. It's seen a lot of use. And another laser etch board. This is a University of Minnesota board. Pretty cool. I like the circular style. You can fit this in your back pocket pretty easy to portable use wherever you're at. So let's start things off. Cribbage is a game that is played by a lot of people, but a lot of people also don't really know about it. So that's why I wanted to make this video here today, to show you how it works. There's a couple main pieces of the puzzle. You've got your board. Board can be any type of board. There's rectangular, there's circle. There's people that have boards that are the size of tables, and they use like 3-inch to 4-inch long pegs as their pegs. Pegs themselves are used to create your score. So if you're getting a 5-point hand, you move 5 points forward beyond the peg that was in front. So I'll show you how that works. And the cards. So you use a regular deck of cards. We'll be dealing about 6 cards per person per round, so you can see how we're making points that way. So first things first, playing against an opponent, you can play 2-player or 3-player, and even teams. So with a 2-player hand, you deal 6 cards, but before you do that, you draw. So you cut the deck, low card goes. So we're gonna both cut the deck, and there's an 8 and a queen, so the 8 goes, so that means that Kate is dealing. So I'm gonna pretend that she's, actually you can deal. So she's gonna deal.
6 cards per person?
Yep, 6 cards. And it's worth noting that the strategy for cribbage is to make points so you can go around the board. This specific board has 60 pegs for each point, and then you have to go around a second time because the end goal is to get to 121 points total. So now that we have our hands, we're going to play a little bit of a different style in the sense that we're going to actually show you our cards in the hand so you can show you how you score points. We're getting some comments here. Jamie says, I'm sick of social distancing. Let's go get some wings. I agree. We should get them to go. So I'm going to sort my hand and then show you what we have here. So we each have 6 cards. My hand is not that great. I have a 10, 2 7s, a 6, and 2 3s. So the only thing that I'm seeing that's worth points is this pair. So think of a poker hand in the sense that you have pairs, runs, you have combinations of such, and then flushes. So if I had 4 cards in my hand that were all hearts, I could have a 4-point flush. So the only thing I'm getting a score for right now is these two cards as a pair. But what I also, I have 7s. So that's a good point. So I actually now have 2 pairs. So in cribbage, you want to keep your best 4 cards and then throw the other 2. So that the other 2 go into a spot called the crib. It's basically an extra hand. So since Kate dealt, I'm going to throw her these 2 cards, the 10 and the 6, because they're not that important. If you have a 6 and a 10, the biggest thing you're going to be able to do between those is somehow make a 15, getting 2 points, but there's no chance of her getting a run with these 2 cards. So they're pretty safe. What you don't want to do is throw someone a pair or a 10 and a 5 to make 15 or anything like that. So what I've done here is I have 2 points per pair, so I should have 4 points in my hand, which is okay. So for Kate's hand, let's see what she has.
So again, the goal being to get to 15, we want to make sure that we can add up to get some of those things. So we have 2 queens, so I know I have a pair here. And then I have a king. I also have a 5. So I know that with that 5 and those 3 10s, I have 3 ways to get 15 with that. So I also have this 8 and this 2, which add up to 10, and then I can add my 5 in there to get 15. So since it's my crib, because I dealt, I always have the option of handing myself points, because in the end, that's my extra hand. So I don't know. What would you do in this case?
You get the queens, you get the 5, the 2. I would throw the queens and keep everything else, because the queens stand alone for 2 points. They don't rely on anything else to get there, and they will fit nicely into her crib. What she gets by having the other 4 cards is 8, 5, and 2 is 2 points, and 5 and a king is 2 points. So she's keeping cards that get her points. So that's what I would do. So now we have a 4 card crib for her because it's her deal, and we have each of our hands of 4 cards each. So now we take the next section of point scoring is called pegging. But before we do the pegging round, Kate's gonna, or actually I'm gonna cut the deck for Kate. So if you're not the dealer, then you cut. So this is our 5th card.
And I drew a 5, which is super helpful in my hand, because going back, we know that I have that 5 in here, which is going to be part of my pairs, and then I can also add up and get that 15 for my score.
Yep, and for me too. So I've got 2 ways to get to 10, so the 7 and the 3. So I'll show you in a little bit how this is going to work, but it's going to help out both of us. So fives are almost like a wild card because they can help in so many different ways. So let's start. So this is the pegging round. This is one of the key strategic ways to get points in cribbage. A lot of people will say cribbage is just luck, but there's 2 main things that you can do to make it beyond just luck. One is the pegging round, and one is picking your card strategically. So what we're doing here is we're trying to get to the number 31. 31 is very specific. That's just the end goal for the pegging round, and you can get there by doing any number of things. So what we're going to do is throw down our cards in order. So when you're throwing cards down in the pegging round, you can get points. So if I lay a 7 and she lays a 7, she gets a pair, which is 2 points. If I lay a 5 and she lays a 10, she gets a 15 for 2 points. So you need to be careful about what you're throwing. So if you lead with a 5, the likelihood that someone's going to get a 15 is pretty high. So be strategic about this, and you count up to 31. Whoever gets to 31 gets 2 points. So we'll show you how this works. So I'm going to lay a 7.
And onto that, since I know strategy-wise I would like to get to 15, I'm going to throw down my 8, because that's going to give me 2 points.
And from there, we've got score. So now we take the peg, and we move it forward 2 for Kate. She's going to be orange, and I'll be yellow. So now it's 15, and knowing that I want to get her get as close as possible to 31 and be there before her, I'm going to go with the high card. So I'll lay another 7 since it's my highest card. So now we're at 22. So now I've basically blocked her from throwing her king. So she has to throw another card.
So 22, I'll add my 5, so 27.
And then I've got a 3, which gets us to 30. So here's where it gets interesting. If she had a 1 or an ace and I had 30, she could lay down the ace and get a 31, but she doesn't, so she has to say go. The go basically means that I've thrown the last card and I get a point for that. So the strategy of getting as close to 31 as possible comes into play here, because now I've got the ability to take that point and I get it then goes to her. So you have...
So you're at 30,
yes.
And now you've said go.
You said
no,
go.
I said go,
yep,
because
so
I don't have an ace, so he's got the point. If he were to have an ace himself,
yes,
he would then get to 31, which would be 2 additional points.
2 points.
And then we would start over at 0.
Yep. So since it's starting over, she goes.
So I'm going to start with my 10.
So you're 10, and then I have a 3, and that's my last card. So it's at 13.
And 15 for 2 points, because I
Yep.
got to that 15. I also threw the last card in both of our hands, so I get 1 additional point for last card.
Yep. So right now with the pegging round only, Kate's at 5 points, and I'm at 1 because she got the 2. She got the 15, the pair, and the
Last card.
So that's the pegging round. So now we've done kind of the basics of a hand outside of counting our score. So from here, we've already talked about the points that are available, but I'll just walk through them and keep the track of the score. So what happens with this is the 3s and the 7s can kind of work on top of each other. So what I'm doing here is factoring in the 5. We know that 7, 3, and 5 equals 15. So what happens is I can basically take these 3 cards and make a 15. I can take these 3. I can take these 3 and these 3. So there's 4 ways with these 5 cards to make 15, and it's 2 points each way. So it's 4 times 2, so that's 8 points. So that's the 15 portion of the hand. So I've got 8 points, but I also have 2 pair. So the pair is worth 2, this pair is worth 2, so now it's 4 plus 8 equals 12. So now I go from 1 point to 13. So I just kind of skipped ahead, and now we've got 13 points to 5, so I'm winning.
All right, so now switching back over to my hand, I know I have, let's see, you have to help me count here. Okay, so 15, 2, 15 for 4, and then 15, 6, 15, 8. So that's 8 points just in my 15s. And then I also got that additional pair due to that 5 that we drew. So now I have, what was that, 8 points? Or 10?
10.
Okay, 10 points. So that is what my hand is worth. So now I will go back over here and we can get the orange pegged.
So she was at 5, so now she goes up to 15. And what's really nice about pegging with these types of boards is they're sectioned off in 5 points apiece. So I can basically go from 5, move forward 5, move forward 5. So it's really easy to get to that 15.
And same thing with this type of a board too. You're going to get that separation.
Yep.
I also like this board because it's separated by colors. So you don't have to run into each other.
Yep, so the classic rectangular board with the snake shape is a mainstay in cribbage. These circular ones are kind of a little bit unique. As I mentioned, this one specifically is branded with a disc golf player's logo. It's Eric McCabe. So there are different ways to play the game, and they're all kind of unique in their own sense. So now we have the third hand. So this is what is called the crib.
So these were the original 2 that I had thrown from my original hand. And these were the 2 that Jared had thrown from his original hand. Now they come together and they make my crib since I was the dealer for this round. We also then can factor in that original 5 that we picked earlier in the deck here. So with these, basically all I can do, so we can start out with the pair that I threw myself, so 2 points for the pair, and then we have that 5, thank goodness. So we have 2 here, and then 4 for that 15, 4 for this 15, or sorry, 6 for this 15, and 8 for that 15. So total in my crib I have 8 points. So I can then go over to my pegs and add 8 points to that. So
You're yellow?
I'm orange.
You're orange.
So you can see how it kind of comes in handy to be the dealer because you get
that extra hand.
a little bit extra. So now that was one round.
One round.
That's it. So there's, 3 different things that go into that one round.
Yep, so we've got the deal, we've got the cut, we've got the 6 cards each, we've got the throwing of the cards into your crib, count your points, not count your points, peg out, count the points, which is the non-dealer first, and then the dealer second, and from then on, it's counting your cards in your hand. So a few different steps to the process. It comes to you pretty easily after a couple rounds, and that's the gist of cribbage. So I think what we should probably do is maybe play out one more hand and see how the points land there, and kind of show you any other things that will come about. One thing we haven't touched on is a flush. So you get a flush by selecting 4 cards in your hand that are all the same suit. It's also worth noting that jacks are special in a way. So I just drew one here. So a jack is worth 2 points if it is drawn. So when we do the cut, after laying down our crib hand, jacks are what's called knobs. It's kind of like a wild card. So if you pull a jack and you're the dealer, you get 2 points. If your jack matches up with a card that was cut, so let's say we cut the queen and I had this jack in my hand, the jack is worth an extra point. It's called knobs. So just keep that in mind, that if you have the chance to keep a jack, it's probably going to score you some points over another card like a queen or a king. So that's the knobs play. The other thing is just make sure to keep track of your 15s and your pairs. That's the biggest strategy here. We also have straights. We haven't talked about that. So if you have, let's say you have 7, 8, 9. Actually, yeah, let's just make this fun. So I'm going to do a hand that's called a double run. So this is another hand that pops up quite regularly. Can you hold me? So if you had 7, 8, 8, 9, this is it's kind of a spicy hand to have, because you get the extra points from the run and the pair. So you get 1, 2, 3 of the run, you get 1, 2, 3 of the second run of 3, and then the pair. So that's 8 points. So it's also called a double run or a straight 8. There's 3 different ways to kind of look at it. The nice thing about this version of the double run is you also get 15s. So that equals 15, and that equals 15. So this hand went from an 8-point hand to a 12-point hand. The other fun part is, let's say that was the 4 cards we had in our hand, and there was a 10 that got put into the mix by being the card that was drawn. Now we have 7, 8, 9, 10. 7, 8, 9, 10. So that's 4 and 4. You still get the pair and you still get the 15s. So you're basically getting an extra couple points for having that longer run. So there's all different kinds of renditions of scoring. But the big thing is keep cards that are close together, keep cards that equal 15, and keep your pairs. As I mentioned, there's 2 strategies. One is picking your cards. The other is being strategic about pegging. And the rest is history. That's pretty much how you end up having a successful cribbage round. You also got to get lucky. That's the fun part. So that's the working session, so to speak, of what is cribbage. Hopefully this was helpful and entertaining. If you have any questions or comments, feel free to leave them. Feel free to share after the session to anybody that you think might be interested. We've played this with family members virtually via FaceTime or Snapchat video or Zoom. It can also be played with your friends and family locally. So if you're staying with a family member, feel free to try it. If you need a board, message me on Facebook. I can help you with that. I've got some good connections with boards locally that are unique. So if you have any other thoughts, shoot me a message on Facebook, and appreciate you for joining today.
All right, should we play another round here quick?
Let's do it.
Okay.
So now it's my deal. We're going to move a little bit quicker on this one since we've gone through the basics. Plus, I need to play catch up. I can't lose.
Oh, that'll go down in history.
Sometimes I deal too many. We'll see if I got it right. Perfect. All right, so let's not show our cards. Let's show our cards at the end.
Okay, deal.
So it's my crib. I'll sneak this one in there. I'm throwing these in my crib.
I kind of wish it was my crib. Shoot.
That happens a lot. Sometimes you have too many good cards in your hand. You don't want to throw any.
All right. So since it was Jared's deal, I'm going to cut. So I just take that deck in half, and that is our lucky card, or not lucky.
So it's a 4. That makes our five card hand. And now, since I dealt, Kate starts the pegging round.
All right. So I'm going to lay down my jack. So 10.
10. I'm going to lay down a 10 as well. So it's at 20.
All right. I'll go 29.
So this is a great point. So in pegging, you can make points very similarly to in your hand. So since this was thrown in succession, it was 9-10 Jack. It wasn't exactly 9-10 Jack because it was 10 Jack 9. But since those 3 cards were laid next to each other, it's worth points. So now she gets 3 points just for having laid those the way that she did. In your orange, right?
Mm-hmm.
So 3 points. Now, if we could go beyond 31, I could throw this 8. But since I can't, I have no cards in my hand that can get me to 31, so I have to say go.
All right, and it's at 29.
29,
so
yep.
I also am unable to go.
So she gets the point.
Yes.
Because she had thrown the last card. So now I start, and I throw an 8.
And I'm going to lay my 7. So that's 2 points because I added that up to 15.
Yep. And now she laid the 7, so it's 15. And I have also a 7. So I get a pair. And now it's at 22.
And 22. Oh, this is spicy.
What do you got?
I got another 7.
Oh, no.
So.
We haven't talked about this yet.
Okay,
you
so
explain.
what? I don't know. We're at 29. I know that.
But we're at 3 7s.
But we've got 3 7s, so I know somehow I have to get points.
Mom's watching.
Is she?
Yeah.
Hey, Mom.
So Kate so it was 7 7 7, and since it's basically 3 pairs in one. A triple is like 3 pairs. You get 6 points. So I got 2 points for my pair, but she gets 6 for her 3 in a row. So we go to there.
And the score was at 29.
Yep.
When
so
I laid that.
I have an 8, so I can't go. So now I say go.
And I don't have any cards left, but
she still gets the point.
Since he said go, I do get that last point.
And I have the last card, so I get a point for that. And that's the pegging round. So now we count our cards.
All right. So
And she goes first.
Did not have a very good hand. As you can see, I have nothing that adds up to 15, including this 5th card here that we drew in our deck. So luckily I do have this pair, so that's the only thing. So I have 2 points.
2 points, got it. All right, and I have 7, 8, 8, 10. So I didn't quite get a straight. I wanted to catch a 9, but I didn't. The 4 down here doesn't do me any good, but the 7, 8, 8 does. So I get a pair, and then I get a 15 and a 15. So it's 6 points total. So now I'm going to give those to her, take my 6 points. And you can see it's really nice to have 2 pegs because you can keep track of how much your last point was so that you don't get lost. So you can see Kate is now at 38 and I am at 22. So I'm a bit behind, but since I have this crib, my extra cards here, I might catch up a little bit. Might or might not, we'll see. So I have King, Jack, 3, Ace, and I have a 4 up. So I now get to take this 4 and Ace and lump them in with this Jack and with this King. So that's 2 15s, so I get 4 points. The 4 was down, and I told you about knobs before, so this Jack becomes the wild card. So the Jack matches the 4 in suit, so they're both diamonds. That means that I get 1 extra point. So now I went from a 4-point hand to a 5-point hand, and there we are. So that was the full round of cribbage for that second hand. What do you think? Should we do one more or should we call it?
It's up to you.
It's up to you. Let's do one quick one.
Okay, one quick one.
Now that we're getting the hang of it.
I'm winning, so I kind of want to just stop.
You are winning. We could play to whatever we want to play with. That's the nice thing too is if let's say you're at a friend's house and it's yours. And you want to make it more of like make it more of a series. You could play to 60, you could play to 121. We got a couple of made up games that I came up with that no one ever wants to play with me because they want to play the regular way. I'll do those as a live session at another point in time because they're pretty fun.
He makes up the rules as he goes and he always wins.
Maybe that might be the case. So we'll see where things go, but Kate's going to deal us one more hand here.
All right, so back to those 6 cards.
All right, so your crib, so I throw 2 cards that I don't want. And I'm going to do this.
What am I gonna do?
Do you have a bunch of good cards again?
Well, it's just kind of hard. I'll just kind of show you here. I have this, so I don't necessarily want to break that up. I have these 2, which are going to come in handy here, so I don't necessarily want to break those up. So it's just kind of that strategy on figuring out which one I'm better off keeping together. And it is my crib, so... Okay.
All right, so your deal, my cut.
And we drew a queen.
All right, my start, so I'm going to start with a 9.
Okay, 9. I have a 6, so add that up to 15 for 2 points.
All right, so now I'm going to go with a 10 for Jack, which is 25.
And I'll go with my 5 for 30.
I don't have an ace, so I can't go. Do you have an ace?
Nope.
All right, so she gets 1 point since there's no one that can go to any further. And then I will start with an 8.
And I will take my 7 for 15.
Another
for
15.
2 points.
And I have another 8, so that's 23.
And last card.
No, you can't go.
Oh, wait, what was it?
It's 23.
Oh, shoot.
So she
Go.
can't go, so
I
I get
can't
a point.
go.
Now she starts with 10.
Now I start over at 10.
And you get last card.
Okay.
So I start. So I was hoping for a 10. I got 8, 8, 9, Jack. And since I got the queen, it doesn't really affect it. So the only points I have were the pair of 8s. So that's it. Not that good.
All right, and let's see, I've got the 5, 6, 7, so that's going to give me 3 points. And then I can take that 5 and get my 15 here, so that's up to 5 points. And get my 15 down here with that queen that we drew, so I'm up to 7 points.
Cool, 7. So we'll go 1, 5, 1, 7. And then she gets her crib with the queen.
All right, so I knew it was my crib. So this is what I have in my crib. Got kind of lucky when we drew that queen here. So I have that pair for 2 points. And then what I can do is take the 4 and the ace to make my 5. So then that's going to give me 2 more points here. And then take the other queen, 2 more points here. So I have a total of 6 points.
Nice.
In my crib.
All right, so that how much was that? 3 hands, 4 hands?
Yeah.
I think it was 3 or 4. Regardless, you can see Kate is clearly beating me. She's
Woo!
at 57 and I'm at 30. So, yeah, I think if we were to continue on to playing the full 121 round, I think she'd have me, but I could also get a big hand. Mm-hmm. It's worth noting the best hand you can get at Cribbage is a 29-point hand. So, yeah. And I think we just got a like from Eric McCabe, who just joined. This is his board. We had it made today. So, yeah, these are going to be available if you ever want to support disc golf players. We're going to have these available for them in the coming weeks. So, yeah, thanks for joining. This is really fun to give it a go. And if anyone... again, has any questions or wants to explore options for their own cribbage board, just let me know. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, guys.